Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Other Side. The G20 happened in South Africa, and many South Africans are shocked. Has South Africa become a country filled with Instagram politics? So in preparation for the G20, many things have changed. You've seen a lot of increased police presence, for example. There's a lot more cleanliness, also infrastructure being brought to standard. But what really frustrated a lot of South Africans is how this was able to happen for the G20 weekend, but every other day, South Africans aren't able to benefit from basic standards of infrastructure or basic standards in terms of law and order. How come visitors and foreigners who are coming to the country are able to benefit from this, but South Africans are not? And through that look, right, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to also tidy up things when you have visitors or the international community coming. But how come this isn't an everyday thing? That is the frustration. It's sort of like an insult that there is the capacity to do this, but they choose not to. And even with this, right, many people are frustrated because when they choose not to, it's sort of like when people complain about lack of service delivery to municipalities, to the government, it's sort of, there's a lot of bureaucracy that's involved within that. But it's sort of like with this G20 weekend, so much came together to make it happen. How come South Africans aren't able to benefit from this every other day? What drew my attention to this situation is how a lot of leaders began using social media as a place to brag about how much they've improved the city, just sort of posting videos and people making fun of this, just showing like, I have never ever seen this machinery in the country. I didn't even know it exists. I didn't even know we had the capacity to also make such things happen. And what just sort of came across is how people were shocked and were in disbelief. And look, it's not a bad thing to use social media as a place to campaign or to also show the work that you're doing. It's cheap, it's effective, and you also sort of get a sense of what's going on the ground. This method of getting your feet on the ground and also engaging with your base was sort of pioneered by Dr. Nasiphi Moya, the mayor of Pretoria, for example. And it sort of just grew momentum where other cities want to also be seen and also be seen to also be effective and working for their people, like what they're doing now with the G20. But there are some disadvantages to using this method or trying to engage with the public like this. Also, sort of like, for example, where there's distrust. Social media is not a real place. What you see on social media doesn't really reflect reality. And that's why people are so upset about the G20 situation. Because here you are bragging about how hard you're working, but every other day, this doesn't happen. Every other day, the service delivery does not exist. And I have a couple of examples of this. But with the social media usage or this Instagram politics, you sort of have a situation where it begins to feel performative and inauthentic to these different politicians. I'm going to give a couple examples. I'm just showing you commentary. But for example, with DA, former Mayor Cilliers Brink, what happened is that he was campaigning with the DA, he was visiting different local communities, and what happened is that he gave a headscarf to this granny. She was sitting on the floor, and she was so grateful for this headscarf, but she was already wearing a beanie, so she took off her beanie quickly, and she was ready to put on the headscarf. But she needed somebody to hold her beanie, and she held it out to Cilliers Brink. But what happened was that Cilliers Brink, he was so disgusted. He was like, ew, you want me to hold your beanie? You see? And with that moment, it sort of showed this performative nature of Instagram politics or trying to be seen. Another example that also comes to mind is earlier in 2025, what happened was that the city of Johannesburg was also sort of on this train of sort of getting people to see the work that they're doing. And they posted this picture, these before and after pictures of cleaning up the city, their job. But what happened is that people got upset. It was basically a situation of you just moved rubbish from one place to another and you want people to applaud you for this. And that's the same thing now at the G20. You want people to applaud you for doing your job. You want people to applaud you for doing things you should have been doing a while ago. And you can sort of sense this mood within the country that there's a lot of general frustration, a lot of anger, and a lot of like animosity towards the fact that things aren't happening or working the way that they should. And my last example is with the MMC, the EFF MMC of sanitation in Pretoria. What happened is that he was literally cutting the ribbon of some bins. I get it. You're the head of sanitation and health and everything, but do we really need to try and like manufacture these photo ops? And that sort of feels like performative, trying to manufacture these situations where you want to be seen to be doing your job. But with this sort of raises some questions, right? Do you need an audience to do a job? At work, are there people there applauding you and clapping for you every single time you press the proper button on your laptop or whatever, or wherever you work? Do you need people to constantly affirm you for what you're doing? Or should the work speak for itself? At the same time, it's an effective means of being able to engage with your constituents, for example. Do you need people to affirm you? Is that effective, especially in the game that is politics? And you can sort of see these political blunders that are constantly happening. So that's that. Thank you for making it this far in the video, and let me know what your other side is to this entire topic. And don't forget to subscribe. I will see you next time. Bye.